It's beer time with Beer Man.
All right. Well, welcome to the very first of a 2 month show. It's Malt Happy Wednesday. Welcome, welcome. And today we have Bumpy Road Brewery with us. Be right back. we're gonna display our beer. We're gonna talk about our malts. This is a sensory panel, learning hour, half hour, however long it goes. But this is to help us as reviewers and as brewers and connoisseurs in general. It'll help us to learn what we're tasting and what's in our beers and how to brew those beers and all that stuff. And we're gonna start. We're gonna see if our beers, um, have the same kind of malts as the type of beer, the style of beer, or whatever the can says on it that it has. Um, Most of us have done our research or already know what's going on. I myself did some research because I brain fart all the time with malts and stuff. So hopefully I have what it takes to do this show. I know Jesse here knows a lot about this, so I'm glad to have you here, man. Cool. So let's go ahead and start. We'll just do this, I guess. There we go. And let me see if any. Oh, we got happiness without guilt. How you doing? Cheers. 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 All right, go for it, Bumpy.
All right. Well, I'm just trying to look something. Okay, so I got something here at least. Um, so the beer that I'm bringing is Sierra Nevada's Bigfoot. This is the 2021 vintage. Just came out this year. I looked up Bigfoot barley wine, and basically it breaks it down to 2-row malt, and then it just vaguely says caramel malt. There's a large variety of caramel malts out there that each, like the lighter kiln will give you different notes versus a darker kilned caramel malt. So it's not very descriptive as to what caramel malt or malts they are using in this. So I'm going to kind of have to figure out possibly whichever ones are being used. So I did bring up a list. I'll just read it off. This is off of Beersmith. So Carapils, which should also be, they list it as a 1.5 to 3 Lovibond. Now, when you get into the caramel or crystal malts, they're uniformly put down with a number based off their Lovibond, which is they're kilning how dark they are. So Carapils is 1.5 to 3 Lovibond. It says that it's also known as Carafoam. Try to find the flavors. These are the lightest caramel malts made from light Pilsner malt and roasted slowly at very low temperature. They do not have strong caramel overtones and very little color. So they're primarily used as a body filler, head retention for the beer. Then you get into the Crystal 10 to 30 Lovibond, which it says these have a light honey-like sweetness as well as body to the finish. You also have some extra coloring given the Lovibonds, which would attribute to the SRM of the beer, which is coloring. They're not as sweet or caramel flavored as the darker versions. You go into the medium or the 40 to 60 crystal. It says these are most commonly used caramel and crystal malts. They impart a measurable sweetness and caramel flavor to the finished beer. These are well suited for many English and American style mild porters, stouts, and bitters. Then you go into the darker ones, 70 to 90. These malts add a much darker color as well as caramel flavor. Due to the high roasting level, some bitterness is also added, creating a bittersweet finish. And the finished color can show hints of reddish tint depending on the level of malt used. Yeah, used for basically darker beers like porters and stouts. Then you have the very darks. You get into the 100 to 220 Lovibond. Oh no. Well, Beerman, if you want to go ahead on, I gotta just answer this call real quick.
No problem. All right. All right. So what I have is I've got an American porter, and so the porter I found, I was just kind of looking up recipes, and the one I went from was from byo.com, which is an article they talk about with on how to what the robust porter is all about. Basically, an American porter is a robust porter. So it basically has pale malt, has your Great Western pale malt. Let's just say pale malt, which is 2 Lovibond, very lighter malt, your base malt. And then it's using Munich malt at 8 Lovibond. Then Crystal 40, which is 40 Lovibond, and chocolate malt, 350 Lovibond, so it's darker. Black Patent, which is 525 Lovibond. So you can see what Lovibond's all about. It's all like kind of their roasting levels and stuff, how dark they get, how roasted they get. So Black Patent, chocolate, Crystal 40, Munich malt, which I believe I thought Munich kind of gave it a little bit of a redder, darker color too. Well, it's 8 Lovibond. Great Western pale malt, which is your base. So going into that, let's see here. So Munich malt, let me get into that real quick if I can find it. I'm just going off of Northern Brewers thing. I don't even know if I can find the damn crap. Better yet, why don't I go to my beersmith? So Munich malt is malty sweet flavor characteristic, adds a reddish amber color to the beer, does not contribute significantly to body or head retention. And what's the other one there? Crystal 40 is I'm looking at the fermentables. Caramel Crystal 40 adds body color and improves head retention, also called crystal malt. And it's basically they have 20, 30, 40, 60, 80, 20, and 120 Lovibond. So different roast levels there, giving different flavors, different caramel flavors. So yeah, and the Black Patent is also the more of a charcoaly kind of taste, more of a roasted coffee. But wait, let me look at that real quick. Dark color and dry roasted flavor characteristics of stouts and porters, used for coloring in small amounts or flavoring of stouts and porters in larger amounts. So you're using a fairly small amount of this just for the color and some flavor. What else do we have? Chocolate malt. There's one. So chocolate malt. You have U.S. and United Kingdom. You have U.K. and U.S. I'll just go with the U.S. one since this is a U.S. or a robust porter. Dark malt that gives a rich red and brown color and nutty flavor. Brown is good for brown ales, porters, some stouts. Maintains some malty flavor, not as dark as roasted. So a lot of that's color, a little flavor. Getting a lot of caramel and darker roasted malts in this, probably for the most part. Yeah, let me go back to you, Bumpy, if you're free. I'll let you finish up. Yeah,
I'm back.
Cool.
So just getting into that the 100 to higher lovey bond of the crystal caramel, and that one tends to also give off caramel type notes. It's going to give darker colors once again because it's a darker malt. It can also start to get into the darker fruit notes of plum, raisin, stuff like that. So that's pretty much it in the nutshell for the different crystals. So that's kind of a little bit of a vague one because they do get very specific if you get into each and every lovey bond by the 10th. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and it keeps going up from there. But that's kind of just a vague rundown of them all.
So caramel's pretty. Is that pretty? I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry. So caramel's pretty much like a general. Are most beers using at least a small proportion of the crystal malt in their recipes, or are they not?
Most. I think I mean there's certain styles that definitely use the crystal malts and stuff. I think a lot of the American breweries, when making like IPAs and stuff, have kind of leaned away from using crystal malts. Right. It's more of a British thing. You'll find in like British pale ales, things like that. That's why they're gonna have like a kind of a caramel type flavor to them, toffee notes, things like that. You'll probably find it more in like the porters and barley wines, stouts, of such sort. More for color and some of those flavors you'd be looking for. I think there was I'm not sure if it's absolutely accurate or not, but there was a study or whatever done on this stuff, and there was something put out online a while back anyways, that they believe that using crystal malts can lessen the shelf life of certain beers. So like IPAs and stuff like that. I think that's why a lot of the IPAs that you see that are made by American breweries don't really have a lot of crystal malts probably used in them. So you don't have that kind of caramel flavoring in the background. It's more of the bready notes that you get out of like a two-row or crackery type notes that you get out of like a Pilsner malt. So that's what I've read anyway. So don't blame it on me if it's not true.
That's interesting.
Found it on the internet. Damn it.
No, that's where I found all my stuff out. Yeah, that's interesting though. Yeah, it's good to know.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
So,
do you want to go? Do you want? Yeah, go ahead and crack it and review it, and we'll just.
I'll try to. I said, I'm gonna have to try to find out what crystal malts they use because they didn't say exactly which ones that they used in this. Most of the time, you'll see that larger beers and stuff, to add complexity, they'll use a couple different malts, meaning more than two.
Right.
But there's definitely two-row malt in here, so I can say there's probably some type of breadiness in the beer itself. But yeah, it's got an off-white kind of khaki-colored yellowish head to it. It's kind of a rocky head. It's got small bubbles that are kind of forming into medium and larger bubbles. It's got it looks a lot darker right now. If I hold it really close, that's more of the color. It's see-through. You can see through it. It's got a nice clarity. It's kind of a light amber, I would say. It looks more like a darker cherry amber from back here, but when you have the light actually coming through it, it's a lot lighter. So if they're using like a crystal 120 in this, then they're probably not using a whole heck of a lot. So just based off what I'm seeing out of the color, I'm thinking maybe crystal 40, crystal 80. That's just guessing off the SRM coloration. You want me to go on?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do
the aromas. So there's some hop bite first. We'll try to get through that. It's a little bit of a citrusy, piney hop bite. Some breadiness coming from the two-row. There's a tad bit of a caramel note in the aroma. But yeah, the hops are the hops are pretty big in this. I think these are made to age. It's 9.6% ABV. I don't think I mentioned that either. I believe it's 9.6. 9.6. So these are made to age. So they hop them pretty significantly. So this is like 90 something bitterness units as well. And I think that's just to help them store better, so you can age them. So over time, the hops would start to fall off, and I think more of the maltiness would actually shine through. But that's what I'm kind of getting out of the aromas. Let's see if I can taste anything different. Try to dig past the.
Cool. Oops.
Base breading malt. There's a bit of a toffee note. So toffee, I'm thinking like the Crystal, probably Crystal 50, Crystal 60, probably closer to 50. Toffee's pretty close to caramel. It's just a little bit, to me, it's a little bit more of that cooked caramel. Like it's got a dark, like a more of a darkness to it than caramel. A little bit less sweet, but still it has its own sweetness that's similar to a caramel or caramel, if there's others out there. Yeah, I'm not picking up on any like raisin or plum out of this. So and like I said, based off the color too, I'm thinking they're not really getting up into the 120 SRM or I mean Crystal Lovey Bond or above that. I think that sticking probably closer to the 40s in the 80s. Sometimes you can get cookie notes and stuff too out of certain ones. I think Crystal 30 or something like that, I think kind of gives off some cookie notes right before you get to the caramel and the Crystal 40. This one doesn't seem to have cookie notes, so I'm just running through all the different caramels right now. Bready, toffee-like. There is a it's tough to say because this one is pretty bitter and hoppy. There's this bitterness that comes through almost like you'd find in a big Russian Imperial Stout. So it almost seems like they're using a darker, like a black patent type malt to, maybe not a lot. That can add some depth to the color. I mean, too much of that, you get that kind of, I know, acid's not really a flavor as far as being a flavor. It's more of a mouthfeel, but it kind of has an acridness type deal going on with a bittering effect to this. So it almost reminds me of black patent malt, but it never mentioned that they used that in there. And I think that the color is light enough that if they did use it, it really shouldn't impart any flavors like that.
Right.
But I would say the standout flavor that I can definitely get is the two-row with that nice breadiness. It's like a white bready flavor. Then with the darker crystal malts that they're using, it almost has a bit of a toastiness added to that breadiness, but it's just the complexity of building the different using the different malts and having them layer on top of the different flavor set that it's giving off. So like the toffee note, kind of combining with the breadiness, gives it a little bit of a toasted bread type of feel. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting out of the malts in this one. I'm gonna have to find next week something different, obviously, and hopefully with more varieties of malts used. But
Right.
yeah.
Hey, welcome, Brian. Cheers.
Hi guys.
Hi.
That was awesome. So that's so majority of it would be the base malt, the 2-row, and then you're saying like probably the caramel, and then you got the coloring malts are probably more minimal as far as like giving the red and or you say Munich was in that or
no Munich.
Oh no, I thought,
the only thing that was mentioned was 2-row and then it just said caramel malt.
Okay.
It didn't mention how many, if they're using more than one. It didn't mention what kinds. I was just kind of going by the coloration of it. And I think when red hues and stuff are mentioned with like basically the whatever it was, the 60 to 80, it kind of has that, but it seems very light because you kind of get into the darker spectrum.
Cat's trying to get in. Stay away.
SRM, so
okay, nice, man. No, that was good. That was a great review. That was not only that, it was good education. So thank you.
It may not have been the most correct education, though.
My
Hey,
cat.
everyone gets in the ballpark, right? We can help correct each other and stuff too.
Yeah. Here, I'll switch over to Brian.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you, Bumpy.
I was rushing home, man.
I'm glad you're here, man. That you're. It's good to have you here. So thank you.
Yeah,
you got Cowley too.
This is the stuff on me. So I had already washed my hands. It's just not everything comes off when you're at a ranch, if you know what I mean. So, but anyway, yeah, I can't. I can't miss Geek World. I mean, it's when you go over beer and ingredients and wines and sake, all that stuff. It's right up my alley. So I don't like to miss it. So I hold asshole. So
good.
So you guys went on the other side. I'm going to take us over to this side.
Hey, all right. Good.
Okay, so everyone gets kind of a full round of how why like the breweries make these types of beers and why they're so successful and just different things. Basically Americans are pussies when it comes to beer. The majority of it's changing a bit with the craft beer revolution and all that, but you're seeing a lot of all of the sponsorship that you see in sports. You got Bud Light, Coors Light, Bud, Pabst Blue Ribbon. I mean, you name it. All of the regular adjunct lagers are just exploding all over the place in the sports. And the reason is these companies have been around for so long. They got their claws and everything. So you start seeing some of these craft beer, you see craft beer starting to come up into the sports, areas as well. Not as much as the big ones, but anyway, Pabst Blue Ribbon. It's been around for a long time, and there's damn good reason for it too. One, people think there's rice in this. It's not. There's no rice in a Pabst. There's rice in other types of adjuncts. So, for instance, let's see the write-up for PBR. This is actually a vegan-friendly beer. So all of you guys or girls or guys that think that beer can't be vegan, there you go. It's made from malted barley, filtered water, special corn syrup. I wonder what special is, and cultured yeast and spicy hops. So, if you put, like you guys are talking about, your Levabond malts in here, if you put a darker one in here, you will see it in the color right off the bat. This is a filtered beer. If they filter it, it doesn't filter out the color. So they're using probably a base 2-row or like a Maris Otter or something along that line they're going to use probably a real cheap one too, because they're doing this all en masse, you know. So yeah, it contains carbohydrates like rice and some added simple sugars like maltose, dextrose to flavor the American light drinker. So it may have some rice in it, but the majority of this is barley. So you'll see, I think Hams is one. I think Budweiser, actually, they use a lot of rice. Am I correct? I think they do. I have to look it up. It's been a while since I've done it. I know Bumpy's probably looking right now. But they'll use
I remember, yeah, Budweiser uses rice because of commercials.
Yeah.
They went after all the other ones for using corn syrup.
Yeah. Yep. So the hops that they use in these are usually very, very light. So you got Hallertau middle fruit hops, you got Willamette hops, you got these really, really, really light hops that go in here, because since the malt profile is very light, it's got to be a balanced beer. You can't overwhelm it one way or the other. So that's how they get away with it. When they make it, they do it condensed. So they will make a wort and store that as a condensed version. When it comes time for bottling, then they inject carbonated water in with it at the bottling and canning and keg lines. So if you guys didn't know that, that's how these are made. Cheers.
Nice.
Cheers.
So they, I was reading about like lights and the light lagers and all that. They do like a lighter, grain bill is lighter, but they add like a enzyme thing that boosts that helps to work with the mash or something. Like I wish I had my book with me right now, but I was trying to. They were talking about like ice beers, and they all kind of have like the lighter ones use like a lighter profile, but they're adding like this bacteria enzyme that helps with the mash to get their percentage that they're looking for, and then they add like sugars to it to boost up the corn syrup.
Probably a culture that they add to it that's probably goes in with the you know, not with the yeast, but a culture that goes into the mash where it probably boosts the rate of the breakdown. You know, when the alpha and beta amylase go in there and do their thing, and they, you know, depending on how it is, I'll bet you what they're saying is, you know how you do a starter? Yeah. Probably the same thing, only they have something added within the starter to boost the cell count on all this, you know, so it'll help with the amylase. And then who knows what they do with the yeast. You know, yeast is usually pretty simple to deal with. It's a single cell organism. It'll go out there and multiply like nobody's business, and it'll fart CO2 and give off alcohol. So it's very simple cell organism, and it usually just it'll go and go and go unless it's in a real harsh environment. But this isn't very harsh. I mean, these are only 4 point somethings.
Right.
It's the only known organism too that can live without oxygen.
Oh wow, that's crazy. We're gonna have a yeast 2 months too, where we have yeast beers. Yeah, we're gonna go over yeast.
Yeast is cool.
Heck yeah, I want to learn more about it. So cool, man. Brian, thank you, man. Thank you. All right, I'm gonna
arm off me.
All right, so I went over basically what my robust porter entails. As far as like what they talk about, it's just off BYO. It's a website, you know, an article where they put their own recipe in at the end after talking about it in an article and what goes into it. And basically these guys are using, not in mine, but this one is pale malt, Munich malt, crystal 40, chocolate malt, black patent. Very small, 7 ounces of black patent, 10.6 ounces of chocolate malt, 14.1 ounces of crystal 40, 1.3 pounds of Munich, and 10.6 pounds of pale malt in a 5-gallon batch. So I went over the crystal 40 is more in between kind of, isn't that more of like you're getting more of your caramel flavors out of the 40 more than anything. The breadiness comes through, I'm sure. Munich is more of a reddening kind of malt, kind of reddens it up, gives it maybe a little biscuit, I would imagine, or something like that. biscuity, and then chocolate is adding like a slight chocolate, even a chocolate flavor appeal to it, along with other things, a little roasty. What do they say? Let me see real quick.
They say chocolate actually gives off a lot more coffee notes than it does.
Was it coffee?
Notes. Yeah.
Okay.
I can do a show and tell.
Oh no, there goes my pen.
Shoot. What'd you drop?
Everything.
So if I can do this right without making a damn mess.
Oh, I brought you up.
You're fine.
Okay.
I was going to show you the difference between pale 2-row malt, which is this is the base malt that most people use when they're making like an American style beer. So you're going to have pale malt, about like that. And then I don't have anything else but a Crystal 20 right now. It's Caramel Crystal 20. You can probably see the difference.
Yeah.
So this one has been roasted a little longer than this one. Right. So if you taste them, this one tastes very biscuity, and this one's got your start of your caramel taste. So there's your difference between how the kiln of the malts. And then, did you guys go into Rausch beers and stuff too on smoking it and all that?
No.
I want to touch base on that too.
Yeah,
maybe I'll bring a Rausch beer next time.
Bring a Rausch beer next time, and we can talk about that.
Yeah, we can talk about
it. That's crazy how, I mean, it's the same malt, it's just based on the Maillard effect, right? Like the roasting levels, the way how they bring out different flavors. Yeah. That's crazy. That's cool. I used to work at a roastery, so it was like it was cool to see how. Oh, it's so great, dude. Yeah.
and that's the thing too, is different. You have different maltsters, and they treat them differently, so you can end up with the same lovey bond, but based off of how wet it was when they killed them, what their treatment of it was, you get different notes, different flavor notes.
Right. Yeah.
Too.
Carapils is a maltodextrin. This one, it's a smaller grain. I use Carapils a lot in a lot of my beers, and what it does is it adds a mouthfeel. It gets more body in there with it. Plus, it bumps the ABV up just a bit, and it is a really good specialty malt to get when you're brewing and stuff, because it really gives your beer an extra oomph. You know what I mean?
So, like body and head retention, all that stuff. Go with it, or
Treehouse uses Carapils in a lot of their recipes to add head retention.
Cool.
Well, cool, man. So this is American. It's an American porter, robust porter. I would imagine is the same thing, right? Is it kind of?
What is it? Which ones?
It's said to be an American porter, but then I go to American porter and it brings up robust porter. So I don't know. I thought there was a difference, to be honest.
You have to look at the style on BJCP, but like we've talked before too. These brewers are going to name them what they want.
That's true. Very true.
Yeah.
You can take a stout and call
an American porter is more robust than an English porter. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, with everything, hops, everything.
It's almost across the board with a lot of the UK beers, the ESBs, and all that. American equivalents are much more higher in alcohol. I think because we're a bunch of alcoholics here or something. I don't know. I think they like their tea more than they do their beer. Sometimes.
We don't have to pay extra for more alcohol. I think they have to pay per alcohol volume or something. Yeah, I could be wrong, but shilling wise,
that's the way it is in Australia. So
is it? Wow, oh, crazy.
It's cool.
Well, okay, this is the Capella Porter. I've done this before. It's by Ecliptic Brewing. It's a shoot, wasn't prepared. 5.2, so it's on the low end. It's sounds to me like it might even be more on the English side of a porter. 5.2 sounds low. Capella is a bright star with chocolate. Sounds all right though. It's probably just at the lower end. Maybe. What would a robust go up to on percentage wise?
I've
You
seen
have
them
to
up
look
to
at the stuff.
9%.
Yeah, they can go up
Holy
there.
crap! Jeez. Okay, this is on the low end.
Burley will answer your question here in a minute.
Cool, man. All right. Capello is a bright star with chocolate and caramel notes and just a touch of roast. A collection of American hops brighten this lively porter. So more than likely, I guess you can consider it an American porter. I don't know if it's a robust porter, but screw the date. It doesn't really matter.
Cool. So Burley flaked oats is used mostly in like very robust beers. You can use them as white stouts, dark stouts, porters. I mean, it really brings out a real great mouthfeel, like unlike what Carapils does.
Hmm.
There's
Nice.
probably flaked oats in what he's drinking right there.
And flaked oats also used highly in New England IPAs
Yes.
for the hazy and that mouthfeel too.
Yeah.
They're, it's a very
heavy in the mouth.
it's got a lot of fatty acids to the
Yeah.
oats.
Fatty acids. I read that. Yeah, I'm getting into this, man. I'm getting into this.
I can't wait till he's
I'm
brewing.
trying, man. I know it's been a while, man.
Like, plug me in 220, man.
So nice finger and a half head. A Tootsie Roll chocolate brown. It's a little lighter at the bottom. You can kind of see through. There's some clarity through the bulb area of this glass. It kind of gets darker and more dense, going into a smell. Oh yeah, that's chocolate. Kind of that nice baker's chocolate, more or less. It's not a semi-sweet or anything. Baker's chocolate, dryness in the nose. There's a big dryness. It's just real. It's got that espresso bean or the roasted coffee bean thing going on.
Is it overwhelming or no?
No, it just tastes like, it actually tastes like when I used to eat the grain and like you get that real bready, like biscuity kind of flavor in your mouth. It tastes like that smell, you know what I mean? Or smells like that taste. It's weird. I'm sure it'll taste the same, but we already looked at it. It does have a good medium fast rising bubble, nice frothy head. It's a khaki color head, good lacing. Good head retention. Cheers. Let's drink it.
So, Bumpy and Beer Man, what would you consider a porter versus a stout? Just a general on the general line. What's the difference that you guys have between the two?
Go ahead, Bumpy, if you want. I would just say that there's more of a roasted dark richness in the stout compared to like a porter where there's more chocolatey. There's still roast and there's still coffee, but it's lighter. But it's more on the, it seems like they're more biscuity chocolate, a little caramel.
Would you consider a stout that may have been, like, let's say you add a bit more volume of water to it where it's thinned out more? Would you consider that a porter if it was a stout at the beginning? Is that how you would consider it? Because there's always that fine line of
possible
the porter versus the stout.
There's a bunch of different ways to look at it in my book. The way I kind of define them is and it doesn't make sense because if you get stouts that are thin, but I go by like the texture, the mouthfeel. If it drinks thin, then to me it kind of seems more like a porter.
Same.
I think personally of a stout as being thicker, richer on the mouthfeel. But then you have others that just basically break it down as far as you'll see stouts brewed with roasted barley, but you won't really find porters that use roasted barley. So they define that as if you use roasted barley, then it's going to be a stout. But guess what? My Telly Porter, I use roasted barley in it, but it's got a thinner mouthfeel, and I don't consider it a stout. I consider it a porter. So it's one of those. Yeah, it's kind of just comes down to the brewers, whatever the brewery wants to state it as. Yeah, kind of. But
so watering down is definitely something to think about. As far as like how the levels of, I mean, then you get to like a brown, which is even lower than a porter. So
exactly.
And then an amber.
They're pretty much opaque. You're getting it to that point where it's kind of a thinned out porter enough where you can actually have, it's almost see-throughable. So
Right.
so
Right. Well, this one's definitely got some coffee. This has like everything that it has like even like that caramel kind of forward thing. It's really, it's heavy on the carbonation. It's pretty pointy.
is it light in the taste though?
Lighter in the taste than a
Okay.
stout. Yeah. And a little tangy on the back end there, on the finish, a little tangy, dry,
Probably from your
espresso
either
dark roast.
yeah, I was gonna say from the malts, or sometimes you get a yeast in there that'll give you that real dry aftertaste.
Oh, right. Okay. And is that based on their attenuation rate and all that, or how they
Probably the style of yeast,
Oh,
because
style of
they
yeast. Wow.
they give off their own esters and such.
Wow, okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
playing around. I mean, there's so many damn yeasts out there, and we'll go over those when it's time.
Oh yeah, dude.
Attenuation will have the effect on dryness too.
Well, okay.
Yeah,
And sugars too.
The more attenuation you have, the more alcohol, even if it's lower alcohol, but the more alcohol is going to be present versus leftover sugars and stuff. So you'd have a drier palate from that.
Huh. Can adding more sugar forward malts cause dryness?
It depends on if the yeast can sustain the environment, because when you add sugar, you're more or less going to have a more alcoholic beer.
Okay.
So the yeast have to be able to survive in that environment. So if it can attenuate down, usually what happens is you'll get more ABV. Your malt profile isn't going to change much, but the hotness of the beer is going to change. Where you get more heat on the tongue and stuff like that. So you got to take that into consideration, because that's all part of that balancing act that you're trying to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this is only 5.2, but it's got like a light feel to it, a drink's crushable feel, but it's also got that crazy, like I guess you could say accurate, just that dry kind of in the back that's causing some, like, the body level to go. Actually, the body feels a little more thicker, even though it's a lighter beer, just because of all the feelings I'm getting in my mouth from the malts and everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting to see how that all works. But
is that coming off as sweet at all, or is it
a little bit, but more watered down? Like, it has all right away. It's real pushy on the mouth, feels real pow, and then it starts to water down and kind of get that acrid kind of thing going on. The coffee grounds and
you're getting that you're getting the end of the roast there on the on the end of the drink. Yeah,
totally. Yeah, it's good though. It's drinkable, it's crushable, but it's crazy how it's just weird to see. I'm glad we're doing this, man. I'm gonna get back to all of us. Yeah. No, this is cool. It's cool to learn, like, to understand because a lot of reviewers will, I'm not pointing fingers at anyone or even myself or anything. It's just, do we really know? Let's ask that question. Do we really know what we're tasting? Do we really understand our malts? Do we really understand if we're tasting bready or biscuity or dark roast or coffee or chocolate or,
it's so, like, if you get a beer and, we've been tasting beer for a long time. That's what we do. And we drink the beer without looking at anything about the beer. Try and pull out of your butt or your hat what malts are in there, what you think is there. The yeast, if you're good at esters of yeast, or the malts, the hops and all that,
right?
All of that. And then you'll turn around and find, oh my God, I was completely wrong on it. But it's because of all of the complexity of how it all goes. It's not only the balance of the water, hops, malt, barley and all that goes into it. It's all the in-between stuff, and trying to figure out exactly where it's at. Oh yeah, sure. It has special B in it, but another thing too is trying to find out the correct answer to it too, because a lot of the breweries aren't going to tell you. But
what's special B? I know what it is. I've used it, but what is that? What's that like?
It's special black patent malt type
Oh,
stuff.
okay.
I mean, it is dark. I mean, it's pretty. Usually, when you put special B in, it's really acidic, but you use a
Wow.
very small amount, and it's color mostly for a stout, mostly.
Gotcha. Nice.
Or if you want to darken up a porter or something, you put such a small amount. You're talking a quarter pound. I mean, in there is going to be enough for a 5-gallon
Very
bag.
small amount. Yeah. That's
Usually
great.
all your stuff is, your dark roast, your 120 Levabons, and all your other stuff that's going in there. So
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
yeah.
Oh yeah, dude. This is fun. So go ahead and do you we don't have to rate or anything, but if you want to like shout out, it's more of like I said, just an educational thing. If you want to rate your beer, go for it, but definitely give a good end paragraph of whatever the fuck you think.
First things first, did you guys buy those beers before? The ones you're drinking?
I've had it before, mine before.
Okay.
Yeah. And
All right, this is my first time
tastes
having
A fresh one?
The only other time I've had a Bigfoot, I bought one bottle, and it was a 2014 vintage, and that was just this past year. So I've never had a fresh one. This drinks a lot like the Dogfish Head 120, which is an IPA.
Yeah.
But everybody's, even I say it's more like a barley wine. Now this is a barley wine that's super, super hopped and bitter, and it drinks a lot like
It's a sipper.
It's less alcohol. It's less alcohol, but it's like you get the same type of like bitterness out of it. It's pretty damn bitter.
It brings that other thing in there that you're talking about is time too. You get a beer that's aged a bit, especially if it's something that has a real touchy taste to it that's been introduced, or the hops over time, that's gonna dissipate quickly.
Yeah,
so
and that's why I think that they bitter it so much, because it's like they want you to kind of age it, as well. You can have it fresh, but also you could age this thing and let the hops kind of fade off a little bit, and you're gonna have a different beer in a year or two. But I mean, just based off what I said about this being close to the Dogfish Head 120, I prefer the Dogfish Head 120. Not just because it's higher ABV, but it actually had better flavors coming through. Like in that, I was picking up apricot and all these other notes. This one's kind of bready and toffee, like with a lot of piney, citrusy bitterness.
So do the malt flavors go away in time too, or is it just like the hops or the thing that goes away?
Usually you just hear people talk about hops and any delicate flavors, but you would think that the malt profile would probably, it would go down.
Yeah, a little bit
would change, because you also depending on like how it's stored in a bottle, you're probably going to get some type of oxidization eventually, which is going to affect the malt.
Well, like that tea flavor comes out a lot in IPAs when they're like 6 months plus,
Yeah.
Like you get a lot of like sweet tea or something. It's weird, but
sweet tea.
Yeah, I like sweet tea. Well, cool. Yeah. Do you go ahead and just shout your guys' stuff, and then we'll call it.
Well, the PBR, I buy it a lot in between the craft beer. I'll usually get an adjunct lager like this. PBR usually go to, because one, it's priced good, and it's a good beer too. So I'm happy with it. I would rate it. It's not quite. If it hits an A, it's a very low A. So I'll just give it a 90 on overall on the beer itself. But yeah, just the channel stuff. Just tune in. Things are happening.
Yeah,
things are happening. We're gonna be putting more content out.
Nice.
I'm in my shorts. It's 60 degrees out.
It's getting warmer for sure, even over here.
Yeah,
it's nice. I love warmth. Yum. Give me more. I hate cold weather. Yeah, cool. All right, Bumpy. Yeah, shout out, shout your stuff. Talk about your beer, and yeah.
I'm gonna do my best. I was just trying to look something up real quick.
I
All
was
right.
waiting for him to go. Ah!
So we still have an hour and 9 minutes before I officially call the Multi Monday poll. But right now, Imperial Red / Amber Ale is devastating the competition.
Good. I could probably find
There'll be a
that.
huge turnout on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A few less votes than we standardly have as of recently. We usually get up into like the 30 something vote range. So, but only a few more. But I mean, yeah, Imperial Red Amber is way out in the lead. So that's more than likely what's going to be the next Multi Monday beer. But I will make a video with whatever one does win the poll. That Multi Mondays are on Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on my channel. Everybody's welcome. Just bring the style that we're doing, and I'll try to remember to leave the link in the chat for those that can't make it to the that aren't part of the Google Hangout groups that I'm in. Anyways, Sundays we do the After Dark beers, 8 p.m. once again. Just 8 p.m. seems to work for most people across the board from the east to the west, because we're looking at like 5 over where Beer Man is, 5 p.m.
Yeah.
8 p.m. here. So
Right.
that's why 8 p.m. seems to be the magic number for my shows. Doesn't always work out exactly for me. I'd like to go on a little bit earlier, but hey, 8's okay. But yes, the After Dark beers, bring a dark beer. It's like Multi Monday, except that there's no style per se. It's just going to be dark. It's going to be a dark beer, and you can.
How easy is that? Come on,
I
guys.
know.
It's pretty easy. It's a little bit more laid back too. I mean, we're still doing kind of like a beer review type thing, but a little bit more chit-chatting. It's acceptable
At the bar.
Multi Monday. I try to keep
Nice.
it to, hey, let's let whoever's being showcased at that time, let them talk without pretty much any interruption. The Sunday show is more of, hey, talk to the person. Don't interrupt them if they're saying something, but if you have a question and there's a little break, you can talk to them and let it fly. So, cheers.
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 John,
Cheers.
I hope to bring a better cheese next week.
Yeah. I know.
Cheers.
Me too. I gotta go search for one. Man, my beer was good. I've had it before. It's not knocking socks off you or anything. It's just like your common porter. I guess you can call it. I guess they say American porter. I don't know if it was super robust, although it did have some coffee, pretty good, strong coffee, chocolate flavor is nice. I mean, seemed like it was up to par with what they were talking about as far as malts that are in this. Just learned a lot today, so I appreciate you guys being here and helping me out. It really helps to learn. We always learn, right? We're never stopping on that one. It's just
That's why I joined. I want to hear other people's opinions and what you found on things too. So
yeah. So no, I'm open ears to everything. I don't down anyone for your opinions. Constantly loving learning, man. That's
you wait till we're off air.
yeah. Yeah, no, it's cool. But good beer. I'd probably give this I'd probably give it like a 90. Yeah, I'd give it a 90 out of 100. As far as my stuff, it's just beer and cheese. Every Tuesday night at 8:00 Eastern, bring a beer and cheese of choice. I don't care what it is. And Wednesday will be this for another 7 weeks. We'll be learning all about malts, and then we'll switch over to something else. So this is a sensory channel. This is a thing you come to if you want to learn certain things about malts or hops or adjuncts or flavorings, that's whatever the hell's going into your purees, whatever's being used. This is where you come. This is where you learn. So join us. I got two freaking educated dudes here that know what they're talking about, and hopefully I know what I'm talking about. But you guys rock. Thank you, panel. Thank you, Thrash Metal Homebrew and Barbecue, Brian and Jesse at Jesus Christ.
Be right back.
Bumpy,
Jesus Christ.
turn me off with the BRB. Bumpy Road Brewery.
Bumpy Road
Yeah.
Brewery.
And no, the chat's always awesome. Thank you so much for being there, chat. You guys rock. JV, Jeremy V, Harden James, Josh is in the house. Just kind of going through a quick. Burley, what's up, Burley Sullivan? Craft Beer 2020 popped in. What's up? Dickie's Beer Reviews. Cheers.
Beer Hounds, what's up?
Beer
How
Hound.
you guys?
Oh yeah, Square Table. Ronald. Oh yeah, thank Nina. Wow. All right.
Hey, Nina, if you're still there.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much. And off to roofing I go.
Hi ho.
I had to take all of my roofing off and redo it. It's terrible. My arms hurt right now.
Lifted white tea raspberry.
Snap a line this time.
Now I'm gonna go up there buzzed and fall off. Wow, the electric line or something. Okay.
How come there's no cheese and beer this Tuesday? Well, you hear what Steve had? What happened to Steve?
He's out.
He
man.
tied himself off, but he tied himself to the ground.
All right. Cheers and peace, y'all. Cheers.
Cheers.